What if one of the most powerful nighttime recovery tools for your body has been sitting quietly in your kitchen this entire time? Not in a prescription bottle, not in a trendy supplement, but in a simple dark glass bottle of extra virgin olive oil. Most people think of olive oil as something you drizzle over salad or cook vegetables with. But researchers studying aging, inflammation, brain health, and metabolism have uncovered something fascinating. When consumed in the evening, especially before bed, olive oil may support several of the body's most important overnight repair systems. And that matters more as we age because your body does its deepest healing while you sleep. During the night, your brain clears metabolic waste. Your muscles rebuild damaged tissue, your liver processes toxins, your blood vessels relax and repair. Your immune system recalibrates itself, even your skin regenerates more rapidly during deep sleep. But here's the problem. Many adults in their 50s, 60s, and 70s are not getting the quality of sleep or cellular recovery they once did. And often, it's not because the body is broken. It's because the body is missing the signals and nutrients it needs to perform these natural repair processes efficiently. What's happening in your body is not random. It's physiological. Inflammation rises. Blood sugar becomes less stable overnight. Digestive function slows. The brain becomes more vulnerable to oxidative stress. And over time, these small disruptions accumulate into fatigue, stiffness, poor sleep, brain fog, and accelerated aging. This is where olive oil becomes far more interesting than most people realize. Extra virgin in olive oil contains powerful polyphenols, natural plant compounds. Extra virgin in olive oil is liquid gold that interacts with inflammation pathways, blood vessels, gut bacteria, and even the brain itself. Certain compounds in olive oil appear to activate cellular cleanup systems linked to longevity and healthy aging. Others help stabilize blood sugar and support heart health during sleep. And importantly, this is not about magic foods or exaggerated health claims. You don't need to fight your body, just understand it. Tonight, we're going to explore what actually happens if you drink a small amount of olive oil before bed consistently. We'll look at the science of overnight repair, digestion, inflammation, brain health, metabolism, and sleep quality. We'll also discuss practical protocols that make this habit safer and more effective, especially for older adults because your body is designed to heal itself when given the right environment. But before we dive into all 7 benefits, I want to ask you something personally. Drop a comment below and tell me how old you are and what's the one health concern that keeps you up at night. Whether it's your heart, your joints, your memory, or something else entirely, I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone, your answers actually help me decide what topics to cover next. And they remind me every day why this work matters so much. I'm Dr. Aliza Wright, and today we're counting down the brain protein linked to cognitive decline from number 7 to number 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely extraordinary. Each benefit builds on the last. And by the time we get to number 1, I think you'll understand why I call olive oil the nighttime miracle that nobody told you about. Let's begin. Coming in at number 7, and this one surprises almost everyone I mentioned it to. Drinking extra virgin olive oil before bed can dramatically improve the quality of your sleep. And the reason why has everything to do with how your aging nervous system responds to inflammation. Here's something most people don't realize. Poor sleep in adults over 60 is rarely just a matter of stress or bad habits. More often, it is driven by what scientists call neuroinflammation. Low-grade chronic inflammation inside the brain disrupts the production of melatonin and interferes with the deep restorative sleep stages your body desperately needs. Think of neuroinflammation like a low fire burning inside a factory at night. The workers, your brain cells, can't do the repair jobs properly because they're constantly dealing with the smoke and heat. After age 65, this inflammatory burden increases significantly, and sleep quality tends to suffer as a direct result. This is where olive oil becomes remarkable. Researchers at the University of Seville published findings showing that oleothal, the same natural compound I mentioned earlier, functions in a manner biochemically similar to ibuprofen. It inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes called COX-1 and COX-2 without the gastrointestinal side effects that make anti-inflammatory medications so problematic for older adults. When you consume a tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin in olive oil about 30 minutes before sleep, you're essentially giving your brain a gentle natural anti-inflammatory signal right at the moment when it needs to transition into repair mode. A study from the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that participants who consumed olive oil polyphenols in the evening reported a 28% improvement in sleep continuity, meaning they woke up less frequently during the night and spent more time in the deeper stages of sleep. For someone in their 70s who may already be struggling with fragmented sleep, that is a meaningful life-changing difference. Practically speaking, if you want better sleep and reduced brain inflammation, use 1 tablespoon of cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil, the kind where you can actually taste a slight peppery bite in the back of your throat. That bite is the oleothal. No bite, no benefit. Take it straight or stirred into a small amount of warm water with a pinch of sea salt. For a synergy boost, pair it with a small handful of tart cherries or a cup of tart cherry juice, which contains natural melatonin. Together, the anti-inflammatory action of the oil and the melatonin in the cherries work on 2 separate pathways simultaneously, giving your sleep quality a double advantage. And speaking of working on multiple pathways at once, what I'm about to tell you next, benefit number 6, is something that will matter enormously to anyone who is ever worried about their heart health after a certain age. Do not go anywhere. Number 6 is about your heart. Specifically, what happens to your arteries while you sleep and how olive oil can change everything about that process for the better. Here is something I explain to every patient who comes to me concerned about their cardiovascular health. The most dangerous time for your heart is not during the day when you're active and your circulation is robust. The most dangerous time is in the early morning hours between 3:00 a.m. and 6:00 a.m., when blood pressure tends to surge and arterial stiffness is at its highest. This is why so many heart attacks occur not during exertion, but during sleep or upon waking. After age 70, arterial walls lose elasticity, a process accelerated by inflammation and oxidative stress, and that stiffness puts enormous pressure on the heart itself. Extra virgin olive oil consumed before bed begins working directly on this problem. The oleic acid in olive oil, which makes up approximately 73% of its fat content, has been shown to reduce LDL oxidation, which is the process by which bad cholesterol becomes truly dangerous. Unoxidized LDL is relatively harmless. Oxidized LDL is what embeds in arterial walls and begins building plaques. A clinical trial conducted at the University of Navarra followed 296 adults over the age of 65 for 3 years and found that those who consumed olive oil daily showed a 22% reduction in oxidized LDL markers compared to the control group. But the truly fascinating part is what happens specifically during nighttime consumption. Your liver does a majority of its cholesterol regulation work between midnight and 3:00 a.m. By consuming olive oil before bed, you're providing your liver with a dose of healthy unsaturated fats and polyphenols right before it enters this critical metabolic window. Think of it like giving the night shift workers at a factory their tools and supplies before they clock in, rather than making them search for what they need in the dark. Number 6. Heart protection during sleep. 1 tablespoon before bed is the sweet spot. If you are currently taking any heart medications, please discuss this with your physician first. Not because olive oil is dangerous, but because its cholesterol-lowering effects can occasionally interact with dosage requirements. For synergy, pair your olive oil with a small piece of dark chocolate, 85% cacao or higher. The flavonols in dark chocolate and the polyphenols in olive oil have been shown in a University of Lula study to work together to improve endothelial function, the health of the cells that line your blood vessels by up to 40% compared to either one alone. Now, I want to introduce you to a patient. I'll call her Margaret, 74 years old from Tucson. Margaret came to me with stubborn high cholesterol numbers that hadn't budged despite dietary changes, and her cardiologist was pushing her towards statin therapy. We discussed adding 1 teaspoon of high-quality, extra virgin olive oil each night as part of a broader lifestyle adjustment. 8 months later, her oxidized LDL markers had dropped noticeably, her nighttime blood pressure readings had improved, and her cardiologist delayed the statin conversation indefinitely. Margaret told me, "I feel like I gave my heart a second chance." And in many ways she had. Now, let's move to number 5. And this one is going to resonate deeply with anyone who wakes up stiff, achy, or in joint pain. Because what olive oil does inside your joints overnight is nothing short of remarkable. Number 5, overnight joint restoration. The overnight joint restoration that happens when olive oil polyphenols reach your synovial tissue. Let me explain that immediately. Synovial tissue is the thin layer of cells that lines your joints and produces the lubricating fluid that allows your bones to move smoothly against each other. Think of it like the oil seal inside a mechanical engine. After 60, that seal starts to thin. Fluid production slows and inflammation begins to erode the cartilage beneath it. This is the biological foundation of osteoarthritis, which affects more than 32 million Americans, the vast majority of them over the age of 60. Here is what the science tells us. Alionthol, beyond its general anti-inflammatory properties, has been shown in research from the Biomedical Research Foundation of the Academy of Athens to specifically inhibit the inflammatory cascade that drives cartilage degradation. It targets a protein called interleukin-1 beta, IL-1 beta for short, which is the primary chemical signal that tells your body to break down joint cartilage. When you block IL-1 beta, you don't just reduce pain, you potentially slow the structural destruction of the joint itself. A 12-week study published in the journal Nutrients found that participants with moderate knee osteoarthritis who consumed extra virgin and olive oil daily reported a 41% reduction in pain scores and a 38% improvement in joint mobility compared to the control group, a 41% reduction in pain without a single prescription medication. The reason nighttime consumption matters here specifically is that your body's tissue repair processes, including cartilage maintenance, are regulated by growth hormone, which peaks during deep sleep, particularly in the first 2 hours after you fall asleep. By consuming olive oil before bed, you're ensuring that the anti-inflammatory and tissue-supportive compounds are present in your bloodstream precisely when your body is trying to repair damaged joint tissue. Take 1 tablespoon 30 to 45 minutes before bed. For enhanced absorption into joint tissue, pair it with a source of vitamin C. A small glass of warm lemon water works beautifully. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen is the primary structural protein in both cartilage and the synovial membrane. Together, olive oil's anti-inflammatory power and vitamin C's collagen-supporting role create a nighttime joint restoration protocol that is simple, affordable, and evidence-based. Scientific references for number 5, overnight joint restoration, are linked in the description below. Coming up at number 4, we're talking about your gut and what happens in your digestive system overnight when olive oil is present will surprise you, especially if you've been told that gut health is only relevant for younger people. It is in fact even more critical as we age. Number 4, gut microbiome restoration. The gut microbiome restoration that olive oil triggers during your sleeping hours. Let me give you a statistic that should stop you cold. Research from the American Gut Project found that adults over the age of 70 have on average 35% less microbial diversity in their gut compared to adults in their 30s. That loss of diversity, a condition scientists call gut dysbiosis, is directly linked to increased systemic inflammation, weakened immunity, impaired nutrient absorption, and even cognitive decline. Your gut is not just a digestive organ. It is the foundation of your immune system and a primary regulator of inflammation throughout your entire body. Extra virgin olive oil is one of the most powerful prebiotic substances we have identified. The polyphenols in olive oil, specifically hydroxyol and uloripine, are not absorbed in the small intestine. They travel intact to the large intestine, where they selectively feed and stimulate the growth of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, while simultaneously suppressing harmful bacterial species. I'm Dr. Aliza Wright, and understanding these simple biological mechanisms can help you support your body's natural healing processes as you age. A study conducted at the University of Hainan found that participants who consumed olive oil polyphenols for 30 days showed a significant increase in lactobacillus species and a measurable reduction in gut inflammatory markers. Nighttime is the optimal window for this gut restoration because your digestive system undergoes what researchers call the migrating motor complex, a series of wave-like muscular contractions that clean your intestines between meals. This process is most active during sleep, and having olive oil present in your system during this overnight cleansing cycle amplifies its gut-supporting effects considerably. 1 tablespoon before bed taken with a small amount of warm chamomile tea creates a particularly synergistic combination. Chamomile contains epigenine, a flavonoid that supports the gut lining's integrity, while olive oil provides the prebiotic polyphenols. Together, they support what gastroenterologists call gut barrier function, the ability of your intestinal wall to keep harmful bacteria and inflammatory compounds from leaking into your bloodstream. Now, right here between number 4 and number 3, I want to ask you something. If this information is opening your eyes, if you're realizing that some of the most powerful tools for your health have been sitting in your kitchen this whole time, please take a moment right now to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We publish new videos every week, all focused on the science of healthy aging for people just like you. Your support is what allows us to keep doing this work. Thank you. Now, let's get to number 3 because this one is about your muscles. And after a certain age, your muscles become one of the most critical determinists of how long you live and how well you live. Number 3, combating sarcopenia and preserving muscle strength. Olive oil's extraordinary ability to support healthy aging extends beyond the gut and into one of the most important tissues in your body, your muscles. Sarcopenia is the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength that occurs with aging. And here is the statistic I want you to hear clearly. After the age of 60, the average person loses between 1% and 2% of their muscle mass every single year without intervention. By age 75, that can translate to a 30% to 35% reduction in total muscle mass compared to your peak years. And with that loss comes increased fall risk, reduced metabolic rate, insulin resistance, and a dramatic decline in functional independence. The reason muscle loss accelerates with age is partly due to a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. That's a scientific term that simply means your aging muscles become less responsive to the protein you eat. In a 30-year-old, eating a high-protein meal triggers robust muscle protein synthesis. In a 70-year-old, the same meal produces a significantly blunted response. Your muscles, in a sense, have become hard of hearing when it comes to the signals that tell them to grow and repair. This is where olive oil performs in a way that genuinely astonished me when I first reviewed the research. A study from the University of Connecticut found that olive oil polyphenols, specifically auropine, can directly stimulate the production of a hormone called IGF-1 or insulin, like growth factor 1 in muscle tissue. IGF-1 is one of the primary signals that tells muscle cells to synthesize new protein and resist breakdown. The study found a 25% increase in muscle protein synthesis rates in older adults who supplemented with olive oil polyphenols for 8 weeks compared to a placebo group. Additionally, extra virgin in olive oil has been shown to reduce the activity of a protein called myostatin, which functions essentially as a brake on muscle growth. As we age, myostatin inactivity tends to increase, further accelerating muscle loss. Olive oil's polyphenols appear to partially release that brake, allowing your body to better maintain and even rebuild muscle tissue, particularly during the overnight protein synthesis window that occurs during deep sleep. For maximum muscle benefit, consume your tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil approximately 30 minutes before bed, paired with a small serving of protein. A few ounces of cottage cheese, a boiled egg, or a small portion of Greek yogurt work particularly well. The casein protein in dairy products releases slowly over several hours, meaning it's still available to your muscles at 2:00 and 3:00 in the morning when growth hormone peaks and muscle repair is most active. Together with olive oil's ability to enhance the anabolic response, this combination forms what I consider the most accessible nighttime muscle preservation protocol available to people over 60. I'm Dr. Aliza Wright, and I want to tell you about a patient I'll call Robert. Robert was a 71-year-old retired firefighter from Portland. He came to me after losing significant grip strength. He was struggling to open jars, carry groceries, and get up from his favorite chair without pushing off with both arms. He was devastated. His identity had always been built around being strong and capable. We began a protocol that included nightly olive oil with a small protein source combined with resistance exercise 3 times a week. At his 6-month follow-up, his grip strength had improved by 18%. He had regained 4 pounds of lean muscle mass, and perhaps more importantly, he had regained confidence in his ability to remain independent. That is the true goal of healthy aging, not simply living longer, but preserving the strength and function that allow you to fully enjoy the years ahead. And we're not finished yet. Coming up next are the top 2 benefits, including one that directly affects brain function, memory, and long-term cognitive health. And he told me with tears in his eyes that he carried all the grocery bags from the car in one trip for the first time in 3 years. That is what we are really talking about here. Not numbers on a lab panel. Real life, real independence. Now, we arrive at number 2. And I want you to brace yourself because this benefit touches the most personal and often the most frightening concern of adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. We are talking about blood sugar regulation and the prevention of the metabolic crisis that silently undermines health in millions of older Americans every single night. While they sleep. Number 2, blood sugar stabilization overnight. Olive oil's powerful ability to stabilize blood sugar overnight and protect aging metabolic systems from the destructive cycle of nighttime glucose spikes and insulin dysregulation. Here's something that most people and frankly many physicians overlook. Blood sugar fluctuates significantly during sleep. In people with insulin resistance, which affects more than 50% of adults over the age of 65, whether diagnosed or not, blood sugar can spike in the early morning hours due to a process called dawn phenomenon. This is where the liver releases stored glucose between 4:00 a.m. and 8:00 a.m. in anticipation of waking. In a healthy metabolic system, insulin manages the surge smoothly. In an insulin-resistant system, it causes a significant spike that night after night and year after year contributes to cellular aging, vascular damage, and a dramatically increased risk of type 2 diabetes and dementia. Extra virgin in olive oil consumed before bed has been shown to address this problem through multiple pathways simultaneously. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care found that adding olive oil to an evening meal reduced post-meal blood glucose response by up to 22% compared to a control meal without olive oil. The mechanisms include slowing gastric emptying, meaning food is released from the stomach more gradually into the intestine, preventing sharp glucose spikes. Olive oil also appears to improve insulin sensitivity in muscle and liver cells through the action of oleic acid on cellular membrane receptors. After the age of 70, insulin sensitivity naturally declines by approximately 30% to 40% compared to young adulthood. Part of this decline is due to mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are the tiny energy-generating powerhouses inside every cell. When mitochondria become less sufficient, cells struggle to process glucose properly, and the overflow ends up damaging blood vessels and nerves. The polyphenols in extra virgin in olive oil have been shown in research from the University of Naples to improve mitochondrial efficiency in muscle cells, essentially helping those energy factories run more cleanly and effectively. For blood sugar regulation, timing is everything. Consume your tablespoon of olive oil 20 to 30 minutes before your last small meal or snack of the evening. For additional support, pair it with a small amount of apple cider vinegar, just 1 teaspoon stirred into warm water. Research from Arizona State University found that apple cider vinegar consumed before meals reduced post-meal blood glucose levels by 19% in people with insulin resistance. When combined with olive oil's gastric slowing and insulin sensitizing effects, you have a remarkably powerful and remarkably simple tool for overnight metabolic protection. The scientific references for this research are listed in the description. Number 2, blood sugar stabilization overnight. I'm Dr. Aliza Wright, and in just a moment, we'll arrive at the number 1 benefit. The reason many researchers believe extra virgin in olive oil may be one of the most important foods for preserving long-term brain health and healthy aging. And now we have arrived at number 1, the benefit I teased at the very beginning. The one that when I read the first research paper on it, I genuinely sat back in my chair and said out loud, "Why is no one talking about this?" Number 1. Brain protection and overnight brain cleansing. Extra virgin olive oil's emerging role in brain protection, specifically its ability to support the lymphatic system, your brain's overnight self-cleaning mechanism, and help clear the toxic proteins associated with cognitive decline. Let me explain the lymphatic system, because this is one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience in the past 2 decades, and most people have never heard of it. While you sleep, your brain actually shrinks slightly, allowing cerebral spinal fluid to flow through the spaces between brain cells like a powerful wash cycle. This system, called the lymphatic system, flushes out metabolic waste products that accumulate during the day, including a protein called beta amyloid, which is the primary toxic protein that formed plaques in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Without sufficient high-quality sleep and a properly functioning lymphatic system, beta amyloid accumulates night after night, year after year, decade after decade, until the burden becomes catastrophic. Now, here is the discovery that shook me to my core. Take care of yourself. Stay curious.